Welcome to Construction Champions Podcast, where we are burning the house down and rebuilding it twice a week. I'm your host, Ron Nussbaum, and I am here to help you become the champion that you're meant to be. Along with our amazing guests along the way, we will provide you with the resources, the latest and greatest. You will sit down with disruptors in the construction industry. And my goal from day one has always been to change the mindset around the construction industry. No more where we let the 3% of bad apes dictate the entire reputation of. Welcome back, Construction Champions, to another amazing episode. I'm your host, Ron Nussbaum. I'm the founder and CEO of BuilderComs, and I get to take you on this journey that I call Construction Champions Podcast, where we bring on experts, we bring on people that have a desire for the construction industry to be better. We have conversations that help change your mindset, that help move the entire industry forward. And today's no different. We have an amazing guest with us. I am excited for our conversation. And as always, I'm just going to dive in because you guys aren't here for me. You're here for our guests and the information and knowledge they can bring you. Paige, it is fantastic to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a really good conversation today.
Awesome. Well, before we dive in, why don't you introduce yourself to all the construction champions out there?
Yeah, so I'm Paige Wiese and the founder and CEO of True Ring Digital. It is a full service digital agency, and I would say a good portion of our clients are construction based in some capacity, residential, commercial, all sorts of stuff from local painters into bridge coating and asbestos and abatement and across the board and what that looks like from a construction side. So, really helping them figure out everyone's got a different strategy. Is it coming in from, RFPs and repeat work? Is it relationship building with other vendors and contractors to continue growing their business? What does that all look like? And, what do they need to be doing on that website? Sometimes they come to us and are like, we don't use it for anything, but it still matters, right? So it's been really, really fun for us over the years to be able to dive into so many different industries in the construction side. And I think, one of the things that not a lot of people really know is my background's actually in architecture. So I started with, design build, going out on the sites, watching the projects be built, having the understanding and background of, how timelines and timeframes matter, how you can't do one thing before the next thing's finished, and how do you time everything perfectly. So, as I transitioned into website design and development and a full agency, I think there was a lot of that stuff that I was able to transfer over as well, as far as how do we keep projects on track? How do we make sure customer journey, even as it relates to, I always joke in architecture, you have to pay attention to the triangle in the kitchen and how they navigate. It's no different on a website, like how do we get them moving through the site? How do we make it a good flow? So I feel, really fortunate that that background actually transferred very, very well into what I'm doing now.
Putting it that way, I can definitely see how that, not only with your customers, but with, I've never looked at a website as like a kitchen design before, but that is a spot on comparison. Like you have to have, how are people going to navigate this? Like we were doing a complete remodel on one of our houses, and we worked with a design and architect before the builder and all of that. And there was so much stuff that came up that me and my wife would have never thought about. Like literally and I've been in the construction industry for 15 years, and it's like, I would have never asked that question, or I would have never thought about that. And I'm sure it's the exact same way with a website if you're not working with somebody that understands that.
Absolutely. And I think, it's little things, right? Like how often do you need and do you have electrical outlets on the right wall compared to, where you need it? And, are they at the right height for where your hand naturally goes? Or I think one of the fun examples I had is like when you walk up and downstairs, if it treads off, if they mismeasured what that looks like, because we're just so trained as humans to know how far a step down should be, right? And so those little things matter, but I don't think when we're like the homeowner that we're paying as much attention to that as we navigate through. And I think again, it's the same thing with the website is we're not we didn't know that there was a reason that that button was right there specifically. We didn't realize why we had a phone number in this spot, but not that spot. And so that's really where those experts can come in to say, how do we get the best user experience? You're the one who has seen this over and over and over again. Well, I might have visited 100 to, thousands of sites over the years. You weren't really trained to understand why you're doing this certain behavior. And so the way that you start to put those things together and, even customer journey with marketing, it all flows through. And so you're right. It is something that you still need the experts to come in and help with.
Awesome. I love it. This is going to be an amazing conversation. So let me ask you the $1,000,000 question. And that is, what makes a construction champion?
What makes the construction champion, I think, is really someone who is looking at building the entire business, not just the projects, not just the customers, not just how do we get to the next one and make sure that, things go smoothly, but really building the full business around it, paying attention to operations, paying attention to, like how, like I said, the how are you generating those leads and maintaining the relationships? How are you, process procedure and putting it all together? I think that's really where you start to see the construction champion come in instead of just, hey, I'm a contractor. This is what I'm going to do.
I mean, I would agree with that. But it's also something that we definitely struggle with in the construction space is like actually looking at the grand scheme of things and how does this decision affect this decision. It's like the phone number you said on the website, like how that placement can have an effect down the road. So how do you see us being able to start to correct some of that? I call it like thinking and mindset around it because I don't believe we're thinking or we have the correct mindset on construction. Like it's just business at the end of the day. You have to have a solid foundation and then you build off of that.
No, it's so true as far as like the solid foundation, right? And sometimes it's just getting back to basics. What got you to where you're at today? And, are you continuing to do those things? Oftentimes we'll hear like businesses slowing down, but they stopped, networking or they stopped doing anything that was keeping those relationships intact and or those relationships were buying and selling and moving along and they kind of got left in the dust because they brought on someone else because they weren't seeing the value in that particular company they were working with. So there's a lot of things that are always shifting, sometimes in your control, sometimes not in your control, but it's really about how do you stay with the basics, put into the operations like this is how things happen and we need these things to continue happening and really keeping an eye and pulse on that because I think it's easy as a business owner to or even project manager GC whatever to get sucked into we just have to focus on the clients. It happens, to us too. And it's like, no, 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 we do need to slow down and take some steps back and really focus on the core business itself and making sure the operations. Are you still handling the payroll and the billing the right way? Because as soon as you start to lose track of some of that, hey, now we are running into cash flow issues because we weren't invoicing as promptly as we were supposed to because we just got way too ahead of ourselves in that growth mode. So putting it all together and a full-blown piece really starts to help.
Mm. You know a lot more than just websites. I mean, like
I
you're spot on. Like I know when you address the leads when you talk about that, and then because a lot of times I feel like the lead stuff is because we stop doing the proactive work because we have leads, but we don't like think, oh well, I have to continue doing this even when work is coming in. And like to me, it's table stakes, but we get complacent when things are going good, and then it's all of a sudden an emergency. But the stuff that has to happen there has to be runway, like it has to be built, and it has to it takes time, and it's why you have to do it proactively.
Well, I think that's like one of the biggest mistakes we see, right? Or the hardest phone calls for us to field is, hey, I need to be marketing right now. And it's like, okay, well, like, what is the expectation for when these leads will start to come in? And, they're like, oh, like now. And it's most efforts are going to take quite a while. And that is if your website is already in a converting, mode and working properly. Okay, so now it's probably at least 6 months to a year to really see the leads. But then you got to add on the close time. How long does it really take for, if you got a lead in the door in a month, it might still take another 3, 6, 8 months to close that project up to actually start getting an approval and digging, right? Or whatever it could be. And so you really do have to pay attention to that life cycle as well. And so, to your point, the best way to do that is to stay proactive and constantly be focusing on it, whether you need it this moment or not. Then start picking and choosing. I like the supply and demand style, right? Of, hey, we are busy. Let's, increase our rates a little bit but keep the momentum going so we know we've got the right clients coming in the door. But we're able to do that because we can start to pick and choose which clients we want to work with, not that, hey, we're, working on these projects out of a desperate mode.
Yeah, and I think that is, I guess my thinking on this is kind of the opposite of most. Is I think that's when it's the most important to do it, when there is a supply and demand, because
Mhm.
like you just said, you have a lot more flexibility to do what's better for you and your business instead of having to do stuff you typically wouldn't do. And but that's not how we think about it. Like,
Well, it's
I'm sure.
supply and demand. You have the funds, so like put that into the marketing. But when you come, towards the end and you're running dry, now you're stressed because you're also like, how am I going to afford marketing?
Mm,
But had you been doing it while you did have that profit coming in and you put it into the budget at that point, then you're not in that panic mode. And that's something, I think a lot of companies across the board could focus on. And I think contractors, also are ones that see it.
yeah, no, absolutely. It's hindsight's 2020, but for some reason, like we do not look at this appropriately. Like sometimes we can just like the work will always be there. Like to me, that is an industry standard and mindset that we just need to do away with. The work will only always be there if you put in the work to have
Right.
the work. And that's what we're talking about. Like marketing and how you present your company is how you put in the work to make sure you have the work.
Well, and like visibility, right? What are you doing to stay present in all of the times and the little things, putting the signs up on the construction sites when you're at it, like it driving by, it's one more person who's like, oh, they're the ones working on that project, whether it's electrical, whether it's painting, whatever, landscaping, whatever that looks like, those pieces all are like, okay, there's still brand recognition. You might not see that as a marketing tactic sometimes, but it is because it's just one more spot you're showing up. But also, yeah, are you doing everything throughout the entire process to get the positive reviews to reflect, for your business? Because that too is marketing, whether we're looking at it as that way or not, right? Is how are we generating the reviews? Because it's not just brand visibility, but it's brand trust and loyalty. And so, really focusing, and that's kind of where I went at the beginning too, of what is the process and the journey throughout? People are like, well, how do we get more reviews? It has to be worked into your pipeline. It has to be worked into when this happens. Now we go and ask for the review. It can't be we just hope they're going to relieve us one. It's not going to be oh, we'll go back through down the road 8 months from now and ask our clients to leave reviews. Like you have to work all of those little things into the day-to-day processes as well. And that is how you maintain success as you continue to just work them in. It's no longer the I don't have time or oh man, when am I going to get to it? It's I can't skip that. Just the same way that I can't skip placing that order for more concrete, whatever that looks like, it just becomes part of.
Yeah, we can't rely on Hail Marys and just like, oh, it'll happen. Like it just does people in order for somebody to just do something, you have to be so over the top amazing. I just think like when I leave a review without being asked, like it has to be like a top 5 experience in my life from
You
you.
went on your way.
Yeah, to do that. But when you're asked, like you just, yeah, as long as it wasn't a really bad experience. So yeah, I 100. We worked that into all foreman's checklist when they wrapped up a project and they were going over everything with the homeowner on the spot, asking for that review and not just asking for it, helping them facilitate it. Like, where would you like to do it? And like just making it as easy for not just the person on the job site to do it, but also for the customer to be able to do it. Just super easy processes. And that really helps. And I think you brought up what I think is the most low hanging fruit, and that is yard signs. Your name on the project, but you have to send them somewhere.
Right.
You can't be like doing that and then they land on something from, or it doesn't even go anywhere. They can't even find your company. But it is a very low hanging fruit. Like just brand the job site that you're on.
People ask, like, oh, I need more work in that neighborhood. Well, dude, the neighborhood is going to follow what the neighborhood is doing, you know? So if you've already got your foot in the door in that neighborhood, stay there. Like, don't keep spreading out. And so, you know, or same thing, if you've got your foot in with the right contractors to support you, stay there. Stop trying to keep going in so many directions and reach all these other things. Just stay focused on that location or the relationships you already have and let them do the referrals and the talking for you and really build that up. And it's going to go a lot further or faster than trying to outreach into like, hey, how do we break into a whole new neighborhood? How do we break into, you know, a whole, how do I build new relationships with new contractors when they're not where I need them to be type of thing.
Yeah, I love that. How do you have that conversation with contractors and when they call you up and they're talking, because you come at it like what I love about working with experts is you have a knowledge base that no one else has and a better understanding, but you work with people that think they know how it should be and what should happen. How do you have that conversation to help bring them in to focus on like this is what the foundation looks like?
There's a few different ways that we go about that and, you know, kind of letting and inciting the clients on what is it that could be helping or working. And usually I start with just letting them tell me more about their business because they're going to start telling me what's working and what's not working or what they're frustrated about. But it also lets me start to see how are they looking at the business? What, you know, is their struggle and where are their strengths? Where they perk up, that's a strength. Hey, do we play into that and, you know, leverage it more? Or is it something where, ooh, that one, we're not going to get them to be writing much content. We already know that that is a pain point and not something they're going to be doing. So how impactful would it be if we were to, you know, skip that content piece? Or how can we take that off their plate and make it easier? But then, you know, really kind of backing them into it. What have you been doing? How did you go about it? Was it working? Were you tracking these things? So often, even if they were like, "Oh, Google Ads, it doesn't work." Well, what were you doing to track it? I don't know. Okay. Well, can we do it again when we track it and like provide and show you reports that support this information? You know, hey, I was running them on my own. I was running social ads on my own. Okay, well, I can probably tell you why they're not working and performing the way that they could if you had an expert who was actually paying attention to what they needed to be. And it's the same thing, right? You are going to want experts on your job sites. You want the experts in the marketing space, the website space as well. You really shouldn't be leaving those things to yourself as a business owner or, you know, as you're growing, maybe you start to have a marketing team, but, you know, starting to ask too, like, is this something one of your assistants or, you know, a project manager can be doing? Or should you really be hiring and bringing in the experts? And we have that conversation. If it's social, sometimes I will say it's easier for your assistant to just pop photos up on a social platform, way easier than you trying to send them to us, tell us what was going on, tell us, you know, this and that, and then us write the content. So we start to figure out how do we collaborate with you instead of one taking just everything completely over that you have no say and also, you know, just being like, "Oh, no, you can do that on your own, have fun." It's much more of a collaboration that we're building along the whole process. Is it easier for you guys to upload portfolios to your website than us? then sure, go for it. Let's teach you how to do that.
Mm, I love that because it is everything we do is collaboration. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
if we looked at it more that way, everything would work a lot better because we don't. I think one of the best things that you said right there was that you'd want experts on your job site. Like when we're getting people to be on the job site, do the work, or work within our companies, like we're looking for those experts. But so marketing fascinates me because I believe it can be very predatory in the construction space, and at the same time we completely miss the ball because a lot of people, it's not their assistants. It's like Joe, the cousin's wife, is handling it for us because like she understands how to operate Facebook, or like my Jimmy over here, his wife, she built a website once, so we had her build all like that's what we end up like. I hear that, so I'm sure you hear that stuff a lot as well, but like we just miss it. Like we know it's important, but we're just not following through, and I don't 100% understand why. Like it's kind of a it's just out there for me. Like it's so important, but it's one of our least like finding the expert things we do.
I think it comes down to the fact of like, one, they're not really seeing the value and someone hasn't entirely like walked them through how to see that. And two, what we hear a lot is like it's just referral based. I grew the business, especially in like the trades. I grew it through referrals. And so they don't understand that, yeah, but that referral still went to your website before calling you. Like it doesn't matter how strong a referral it is, they're still doing their homework, and that website still has to reflect the quality of what you're doing. Or, sometimes I won't refer someone out if I look at their site and I'm like, okay, but they really aren't even talking that they do commercial on their website. I've sat there and had 100 conversations with them. I know they do commercial, but their website only talks about residential. If I go refer that out, that person in construct or commercial isn't going to call you because your website is focused on that different audience. And so, there is perception there. If your site hasn't been touched in 10 years, they're going to think that you're really not still that active and that you're just kind of picking up jobs as they come up. And how, credible is it? Or sometimes it is just like, are they going to be around in another 3 years to hold this warranty up, or are they going to be going out of business soon? Because it doesn't seem like they're not active on social. They don't have any recent reviews. Their website hasn't been touched. What are they doing? And so all of those things are like start to come in from perception, and people are already forming an idea of your business and how you operate your business before they even get to the phone call part or the email introductions. So, really looking at that entire journey is like the first place. But then, yeah, to your point, so why would I then go do marketing if I don't need to? Or we just keep getting RFPs from other contractors. Yeah, but that contractor might get bought tomorrow. That other, company that keeps hiring you may decide, hey, we're ready to get out of this piece and we're just gonna shut it down. Or someone else comes in from the family and oh no, I know so and so, we go way back. I'm gonna bring him in instead. I'm to your point, I'm gonna bring my friend Johnny in instead to start doing the painting on our new builds. Okay, well, you just lost a contract that you are so heavily dependent on, and that will tank a business very quickly. So, what do we do to make sure that we continue to diversify where your leads are coming from, how your work is coming in the door, and keep that consistent flow of it instead of just taking it so passively of like, we got business right now, we're great.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like it's our customer. I literally just before this call was on the phone with a plumber that I know. And this is what he was talking about is like people just don't understand is like you have to be online. You have to like this is what our customers are doing. Whether and he does residential, he also does sub work, and he's like it doesn't matter who I'm working for. they are looking at me not through just me. He's like, in order for them to get to me, they have to go through all this other stuff. And he's like, it has to be right. And that was part of our conversation leading to what he was wanting to talk about. But uh we don't think about like what actually happened for that customer, that contract, whoever, to act for you to actually be in front of them. They've done their research.
Mhm.
And if that, you don't know how much you're losing. Because I'll tell you what, I see some of this stuff out there, and like if I'm somebody that's looking, I want the absolute cheapest whatever work done. You can kind of start to tell by going on people's websites, like, what's that look like around there before? Like, and so you might, that when we're talking about the customers and being able to pick and choose your customers, like you might be appearing to your worst customer.
For sure. If you're still using a Gmail account, you're probably appearing to your worst customer. Like, we need a professional presence. We need to have the at domain.com, right? Like, you can't be throwing up back to the yard signs. You can't be putting yard signs out and then be like at gmail.com for your email. It can I trust this company? Is this just like fly by the seat of your pants contractors, right? Like, you have to be looking at all of these little details that go into it. And how are you, and that's like if a company comes to us like, hey, we're just getting started. I'm like, great, then we need at least a somewhat decent 5-page website and a professional email address and a phone call that's going to go, or and a phone number that's going to go to a voicemail that talks about your company in case you miss it. If we can start with just that, great. Then we can start going into more and more of how do we start to validate you as a actual business. But if you're looking to even just get off the ground, we have to do that before we can even talk about how do we, generate leads and business and start, bringing in more.
It that what you said about the is this a fly by night? I think this is why marketing is so important in construction, is because you have to overcome that narrative no matter what. And when you're doing things like what you were talking about, you're feeding into a preconceived notion that that customer already has. And if we're not, it's like you have to go to battle against it. Like that's how we change the mindset around the construction industry. Is like we come across as professional. Like we're not, take all the doubt of the, is this somebody that just set this up, it's doing whatever, and then 3 months from now is going to be operating under a different entity. Like, because that's what people think. Like, that is, you go out and you start talking to customers and stuff. So, like, we're, by not taking this serious, we're doing ourselves, the industry, everything a disservice.
Well, I think like again, marketing and web development go parallel with what you're, saying too, because it's the same thing. We have to do everything we can as soon as we get that first call to explain we're going to work through whatever problem comes up with you. We're not gonna go anywhere. But the call always is like, I can't get a hold of my developer. I don't know where they went. They won't pick up the call. They won't return the phone call. And so for us, even just to come out and think, oh, we're gonna, sell them on a whole new website. No, that is such a hard sell all of the time because you go talk to so many people. And to your point, whether it's their cousin's cousin or whether it's, like an actual marketing team, whatever that looks like, everyone has a story of how they've been burned. And it's the same thing in the construction space. And hey, I just hired a painter. They did half the job. How do I know you're going to show up and finish the job? Right. And you don't want to carry that into the next experience. You want to be like, that was that person. We can move on. I'm hiring right this time. But they thought that when they hired the last guy, they wouldn't have hired the last guy. And so you do have to really represent and show up, especially, as you're showing up on people's homes or on commercial sites where there's a whole bunch like, OSHA and all sorts of things you got to worry about. How you show up really does matter. And yeah, you're constantly working to win that business over. Even after you've won the project, you still keep working to make sure that they come back to you for something else, or that they do trust you enough to call you for the warranty instead of going straight to the reviews, and hiring someone else for the work to be fixed.
I love it. Now we're getting deep into because now we're talking about like the marketing in the what help our listeners what are some of the misconceptions or some of the like what as somebody that owns a marketing company that services the construction industry, how I don't even like the questions and I'm working through it, like, because I know, like you just said, there's mistrust. They feel the same way with working, like when everybody has a story. It's just like that homeowner. How can you help them better understand why they should work with that? You are just saying, like, why should they work with you? Like, what am I getting my point across?
Yeah, no, yeah, no, I understand what you're saying as far as like how do you build that trust, especially if you haven't already, like had a conversation with them and they're just looking at the website, or, they see an ad someplace in a magazine, whatever that looks like. And it's like, how do they know that they can go to you? How do you start building trust that, yes, I want to call this person? And one of it's brand consistency across the board. Does the ad match the business card that matches the website from a logo and branding perspective, right? Because anytime you start to get amiss with those things, it starts to create doubt and confusion of, okay, but I don't know if that's the same colors being used, and, like, is this still the same brand that I was calling or not? And so really making sure that the advertising is matching what's going on the website is one kind of indicator and trigger of, yeah, okay, like, I'm in the right location, I've got the right company, they're paying attention. Second, and I wish more people did this, is putting actual photos of you and your team on the site. Anywhere and everywhere is going to instantly start building more trust, because it shows that you're willing to invest a little extra money in the photography, whether it's to have them on site, whether it's to have them at the office, whatever that looks like. But it also starts to build more of that human touch. I can't tell you how many websites we've created, and obviously like marketing material too, with just stock photos of contractors, and oh my gosh, I can't keep doing it. Like it's all the same pictures over and over again. Like, but
They suck.
they
Stock,
suck.
stock
People,
images
oh yeah,
for the like that is a problem.
across the and people know it. They go to the site and like, stock photo. I don't care what you're doing. And I understand some industries don't have the best looking photos, asbestos and abatement. It's kind of hard to, represent, but when you can get into the nitty-gritty of like, this is what it looks like, it shows you know what you're doing, and it shows you are in fact on those job sites doing it, and that you know how to fix it. And if you can do before and afters, even better, because it shows. But pictures of your team and just what you're doing is going to go so much further, and it does build trust. It builds this authenticity where you're like, okay. All right. I want to work with them. And I don't, it's just like a warm, inviting feeling. So I really do believe in that. And then from there, it's just like, what's the experience like past that? If the site link's broken, can they actually fill out a form? Is it saying schedule an appointment, then it goes to a contact page instead of an actual scheduling system? Like, are we using the right terminology throughout? And as you can start to piece through all of those things in that full journey, it's a win every time. Like, we don't have to work extra hard on marketing, because we know the site and the everything else we're doing is converting so well that once you get them on a phone call, it's a done deal. You've got them closed up.
Yeah, I think the team like the real photos. So like for me, that's a big thing because when I see that, looking at it from my perspective and what I do now and just a different understanding is I look at that as a company that cares about how they're represented, and I know they made the investment. Like they're not just willy-nilly doing this. Like it's professional, and those are the companies I call. And everybody can say, well, Ron's different than most customers, but it gives you a feeling like they have made that investment into making that look right. And to me, that matters. because if they're willing to do that on the front end, the chances of me having a problem with them are, to me, a lot less.
Yeah, well, that too. And then, it depends. Residential, commercial can be slightly different, but when it comes to residential, they want to know who's showing up on the property. I can't tell you how many times, someone's like, oh, this tech's coming out. Let me go to their website and see what they look like so that I do, in fact, know that the right person showed up, especially if they're coming into my home, especially if they're, going to be walking my property, whatever that looks like. And so, it's even some of the industries where they don't have to go in your home, I've had it where they've shown up and I'm like, why is someone in my backyard right now? Like, no one told, and who is this? But, like if you can start to like, okay, well, I already knew that they were going to show up in this attire. I already knew, like maybe this is the time they're going to show up. It makes more sense. But yeah, if you just got someone random walking on the property with a yellow vest on, I hope that's the right company, but that's me taking a guess kind of thing. So anytime you can start to put them more at a peace of mind and ease with it does start to help. And that's where again, I think the residential side can be a little bit more important on those photos, but across the board, people just like to see who they're doing business with.
Yeah, the random people. Well, it's another thing we're known for in the construction industry. Just random people showing up, in unmarked vehicles, putting homeowners and customers, or even contractors, like the guys showing up on the subs and stuff. It puts them in an uncomfortable position because they're like, now I have to go have a conversation, and I don't even know if is this somebody I want to have a conversation with?
For sure. I mean, you're right, because even more and more, like with so much of the subs going on, they don't have branded materials on the vehicle showing up. And so, and sometimes I'm guilty of it. I'm like, I can't answer the door right now. Like whether I'm on a call, whether it's, hey, I just don't know who this is. And looking at the vehicle and looking at this, I don't know what's going on. I, have rental properties and I make sure I tell every single guest, like, there will be people on the property on this day. I need you to know, like, don't be alarmed. They don't need to be in the house. They don't need to talk to you. Just so that that expectation is already set up. But I guarantee you, half the time they're not showing up with any, branding that says, we're the spa maintenance crew or, we're this. And so, yeah, you don't really know. And then, yeah, you've got some tenant walking out screaming at you because they didn't know why you were there. So, how do you across the board make sure it's a really clean transaction for everybody?
Awesome. I love it. This has been an amazing conversation. Before we wrap it up, we haven't even really, you shared a wealth of knowledge, but we really haven't dove into Three Ring Digital really at all. Can you give us some like high level overview, some of the what you guys like really specialize in and like that? Like, I just pitch yourself, I guess. Like,
Oh, no.
help our audience know how they can work with you and collaborate
Yeah.
with you.
Thank you so much. No, I appreciate it for sure. So, like I mentioned, we're a full service digital marketing agency. And, from this call and conversation, you can tell we look at the big picture. We're looking at the entire customer journey. We're looking at how is your marketing impacting your website? How's your website impacting your marketing? And really starting to bridge that gap between the two. We see and hear often a lot of agencies will be like, we run marketing and we do web because we have to, or they're really, really good at web design and development, but they're only running the ads because there's some extra, money there or something. And that's not how we work. We absolutely love bridging that gap between the two, having those conversations as a team. And what does that look like? And we actually take it one step further even and dive even deeper into the digital asset side of it all. So because of how much we handle for our clients, we really have turned into that go-to source of like, what does this mean? Why is this happening? Oh crap, how do I fix this? Why is my site down? And we get all of those panicky phone calls, often from people that aren't our clients, but at the same time, it could be a client that hadn't signed up for a certain piece of it. And, it for us, it's like, why is your website down? Well, let's dive deeper into, is it a functional thing? Is it a compatibility thing? Is it a domain thing? What is it related to? And let's get into why and how can we prevent that moving further? Hey, you've got these third-party tools that you're using to run your construction business. But what happens if one of those goes down tomorrow? Do you know how to recover it? Do you know who's in charge of the 2FA? Do you know what credit cards on file? So we'll get much, much deeper into the digital asset management side of it as well and really help them. You can tell from the call, all the little things that we've talked about, from how to set up emails to this to that, that's where we really, really stand out, is how do we put all of these pieces together instead of hyper focused on, hey, what's the website look like? Do we have a pretty site?
So a true partner, a true collaboration is what I'm hearing.
Yes, absolutely. We tend to say more we're a digital partner, not necessarily a digital marketing agency.
I love it. I absolutely love that. And for all of our listeners, they wanted to connect with you, learn more about what you do. Where's the best places for them to do that?
Yeah, best places to do that. Paige Wiese on LinkedIn. We're really active over there. I'm always doing things and you can stay up to date. And then treeringdigital.com if you have any questions or anything. And then we do have a digital asset management checklist, which is just a really, really great place to kind of jumpstart. Where are the gaps in your business? How do you go from just making sure your projects are good to making sure you're actually running a very successful construction business? And you can check that out at trueringdigital.com/construction champions. And I think just an amazing resource of, oh, I didn't really think about that. I really should get that in place so that we can be proactive instead of reactive.
I love it. I love it. I always love when guests have free resources for all listeners as well. Paige, thank you for taking the time and being on the show today.
Thank you. It's always fun to dive back into the construction side of things. I enjoy it with our clients, but just kind of getting back to the roots of it all is always fun.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you. And yeah. All right, construction champions, another episode in the bag. Man, proactiveness really comes up. Like that's not just working with experts, but working with partners, collaborators that can meet you where you are. I talk about it on here all the time. Is like, you can't do everything. You shouldn't do everything. And you should find people that can work with you and do this alongside you instead of, we all know, like, instead of just saying, hey, I'm just going to hand this completely off. Like, you wouldn't do that if you hired somebody. When you're working with people that are going to help your business, they bring a knowledge base that you do not have. They have an understanding that you do not have. And you have to be willing to work alongside with them, and they have to be willing to do the same. It's why we bring on experts all the time, but you notice, like, I bring on experts that work with you. They don't work on their terms. They have their terms, just like any business, but they want to see you be successful. They don't just want to see them be successful, because they know at the end of the day, their success lies in your success. And this is something anybody that's ever listened to any marketing episode, it fascinates me how, as an industry, we have stayed so in the Stone Age, I guess would be the best way to put this, with a thinking around marketing. I can tell, anybody can tell. Go on Google, search anything near you, look at the companies that come up. Then go a few pages later and look at those companies. You can tell the difference, and you know who you want to work with. Like, that's what we're talking about here today. Like, that. There's a huge difference between the companies that value a proactive look at marketing and companies that look at it as, oh, I need a lead next week. And the companies that are proactively doing this, you know what they never say? I need a lead next week, because those leads are coming in. They're the right clients. They've invested proactively into this, and they build a stream that will always be there. This is truly an investment. It's not a cost. Stop looking at it as marketing is a line item and it's a cost. It's a long-term investment in your business, and it's something that compounds. It's not something that once you do it, it just goes away. You keep making the investment, and the investment compounds over time. So champions, go take action. Like, I mean, I don't want to have to scold everybody, but 99% of you would just sit there and do nothing after listening to this. Don't be the 99%. Be the 1% that goes and actually uses the asset that Paige gave you to go utilize. Chances are you will probably learn something about your business, yourself, and you're part of the 1%. Like, you're actually out there doing stuff. It takes a lot to listen to the show. It takes even more to take action and implement this stuff. And that's what will make you the go-to person in your industry, in your area. So construction champions, until next time, be the champion you were meant to be.